Hi, everyone, and welcome. We are going to be talking about our gut and about probiotics and how this information is all tied together. This information comes from an article by Dr. Jockers about the probiotic benefits, the categories, and the protocols. I wanted to welcome Dr. Blake. If you have any questions, please feel free to give him a quick text at 647 400-0523. Dr. Blake is one of our chiropractors here, one of our leading chiropractors at the Justine Blainey Wellness Center, but he is a very passionate person for your health. He loves to be able to help in a natural setting, which is amazing, but he really wants to be able to release your full potential, full health potential for you and to help you through that journey. Please help me welcome Dr. Blake.
Thank you, Angela. And we're going to get into some information about upcoming webinars. So following this, you have information about arthritis, exercises for vertigo, and ways to avoid the dangers of continuous sitting. And then our big event is a makeover. And again, it's going to be on taking care of your digestive system and your gut. So more in-depth information than what we're going to be able to cover here today. Let's get going. So before we start, I want to thank Nawweed. Nawweed is a co-op student that worked in our office through the summer and the spring previous. He has set this presentation up. He's done a ton of work for you, and really want to give a shout out to Nawweed. So thank you. As we look at probiotics, understanding about our digestive system. So our body is made up of billions and trillions of cells. And when we look at the actual number of cells, there's more bacteria in our body than there are cells, because the size of the cells, they're about 1/10 of the size of a human body cell. And we can carry up to almost 2 kilograms of bacteria in our body. And they're there and they're important to be there. It's like, think about your lawn. You have healthy lawn, and then you might have some weeds grow in. And if you can have healthier grass, and that would be the healthy bacteria in our digestive system, it's harder for the weeds to take root. And so we want to have as much healthy bacteria in our body so that we can have the benefits of greater health. What probiotics do and what a healthy microbiome does is it boosts our immune system. It protects against harmful infections. It improves our digestion by allowing us to absorb nutrients. And when we absorb those nutrients, we won't feel so hungry. So it'll help us in weight management, and it gets rid of that brain fog. It helps our mental health. So as I said, it's trillions of cells. They're diverse genetically, and it helps us. We want to have that balance of 85% good bacteria to 15% like not as good. But most people have a dysbiosis or an imbalance of these harmful these microbes, and that disrupts the flora of our gut. What we want to do is make sure that we add some probiotics to our overall health regimen as part of our supplementation, and it'll help to reduce inflammation and support our long-term wellness goals. So if you look at the chart here, what we can see when there's signs of inflammation, there's heartburn, constipation, bloating, depression, yeast, candida or yeast overgrowth, allergies, headaches. So there's a number of symptoms that our bodies will express to tell us that our gut microbiome is out of balance. When we look at the probiotics, we want to see what we call CFUs, or colony forming units, and the number of active or available microbes in the supplement helps us understand if it's going to be the right supplement for us. And by using probiotics as a supplement, it helps the different organ systems in our body because it improves our digestion, giving better nutrients for our different organ systems. Um, it also can decrease symptoms like IBS, right? And it'll support or decrease chronic inflammation. And then there's the gut-brain connection that we'll get into a little bit later in the presentation, but that plays a role in depression, anxiety, and stress-related symptoms. And this is a new word for me. Like I said, Nawi put this together, and so microbiota, I would call it the microbiome. But yeah, having a strong microbiome for our body, it helps build the intestinal and systemic immune responses. Um, the different probiotic strains help our immune system. So part of our immune system is interleukin 10 or IL-10 and T cells, and those are important in our primary response to infectious agents that our body needs to take care of right away. By having that anti-inflammatory action, it helps our gut lining create a better barrier so that harmful agents don't get into our body, and it helps with the cytokine production. And so again, as you look at the chart here on the left, the normal immune system, you can see that there's different colonies of bacteria, and they're there to help to aid in digestion and line. But if the gut barrier isn't protected by the bacteria and the yeast and the different spores, then things can leak through, and they call it leaky gut syndrome. So we want to work on making sure that we have the right bacteria in our body, and it can even help out to manage things like stomach ulcers by decreasing the H. pylori count. So there's different things to think about in terms of creating that microbiome. There's what's called prebiotics, and basically prebiotics are sources of food that feed the biome. And so things like high fiber, so good vegetables and fruits, whole grains, help to feed your microbiome. And so those are prebiotics. The probiotics are the bacteria themselves that you would take as a supplement. And then the postbiotics are the prebiotics that have gone through the fermentation phase, but also it makes the biome, it helps it accentuate or grow better. By having this approach to our gut health, it can decrease constipation and also decrease diarrhea. It has us having normal bowel function. And so when we look at the nutrient uptake, by having the best bacteria, it helps our body produce different vitamins such as B12, which is folate, our vitamin K, our B6 is pyridoxine, B3 niacin. So it helps our body release the right vitamins, which are important in cellular health inside of our body, as well as along the intestinal tract. By having the food digested by the gut flora, again, it turns it into something that's much more usable, and it allows our body to produce more short chain fatty acids, which is great for our immune system, but also for our mental health. Again, having great gut flora, it helps our body so that we don't feel hungry, and it can help us so that we can aid in weight loss and keep a healthy weight as well as a healthy relationship with our nutrition. And there's something called the gut-brain axis. And again, this could be a talk all on its own. It's amazing, and we're learning more and more about it all the time. But there's a communication between your stomach and your brain. Uh, you know, we've heard the term a gut feeling, right? And so there's so many neurotransmitters and neurotransmitters are chemicals that send information to the brain, but also there's nerve receptors or nerve receivers in our gut, and there's almost as many nerve receivers in our gut as there is everywhere else in the body. And so that means that what's happening inside of our stomach is sending an unbelievable amount of information to our brain, and that's affecting our overall health and well-being. So if we can send good things into our gut, that means that good messages are going to come to our brain. If we're putting junk into our body, then bad messages are going to come to our brain. And it was so evident this summer. We were able to spend some time with our little niece and nephew. They're 3 and 1, and their family is quite healthy. They hardly ever get sugar, but sometimes you give them some sugar and they just go off like crazy. The energy, right? And they just ramp right up, and so that's information for their brain, and they just ramp right up, and then they crash, right? And so that those tiny little bodies with that sugar, it's so easy to see what's going on. But in our own bodies, that 3 o'clock crash, right? And we've had a lunch. So we have to kind of look back and see, what did we eat for lunch that caused us to drop off the edge of the cliff at 3 o'clock and crash? So we want to look at, are we sending the right information into our gut for our body to process so that our brain can make it through the day? So there's 4 main categories of probiotics. And again, like I said, with Nawi putting this presentation together, this is some new information for me. So this is amazing. There's food-based, so things like sauerkraut, yogurt, kimchi. There's soil-based, so organisms that you would find in the dirt. And they talk about, as kids growing up in the 70s, probably ate a pound of dirt a year. And so that's where you got your supplementation for your probiotics. There's different beneficial yeasts, and then there's combinational of probiotics. So we want to help you understand that there are these different categories, but also expose you to ways that you can find out which one works best for you. As you enter into this world of probiotics, if it's new to you, you want to start very slowly and with low doses. And then you can determine if your body's sensitive to it or not, right? Because if your body is sensitive, you might end up doing that pickle walk to the bathroom, right? And we don't want that for you, where you're just trying to squeeze everything, hold it in until you get there. That's no fun. So we want to reduce any symptoms. So when we break down the food-based probiotics, some that are common, that are great, are lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. And they are different strains of it, but as they come into our body, they help to, as I said, take up space. It's like having good grass in the area, and it chokes out so that the weeds can't grow. And so as we go through this presentation, as Angela said, is put together by Dr. Jockers. He has supplements that he can sell online, but that would come from the US. So I would take a few notes here, and I would go down to Healthy Planet or Hooper's Pharmacy, or even into Fortino's. They have different probiotics that they sell, and you could talk to a representative there, a salesperson there. And at Healthy Planet and Hooper's, they're really, really good at helping you kind of wade through and get answers for that. The other person you could talk to is a naturopath, and we have 2 great naturopaths in our office. So the lactobacillus strains, it's found naturally in our mouth and in our intestine, and in through our sex organs. And then The other Lactobacillus plantarum, is found in olives and sauerkraut. The Bifidobacterium strains, um, they're going to help to keep the stomach pH in check, as well as help with the bile salts. So bile salts are part of breaking down the food to help you digest better. We also have probiotic yeast, and the benefits of probiotic yeast is it can increase gut motility. It can support the maintaining enough fluid in our bowel. It can help to improve our immune responses and reduce the number of dangerous or disease-causing bacteria in our gut. And again, it's ideal to support when you're taking an antibiotic. Having the yeast as a supplement can help as well. And because it grows in, it makes it harder for C. difficile and other yeast to grow into the body. When we look at the soil-based or the spore forming, they're resistant to heat, light, stomach acid, and they're stable on the shelf. So they get further into the gastrointestinal tract, so more into your large intestine, and that helps to decrease the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and it helps your body process better. This is one of the ones that you would start with. So a soil-based, if you're new to probiotics, you would start with this. It tends to be better tolerated for many people, and then you could explore the other ones. There's also a combination of probiotics, and so they put the spore forming with with the soil-based as well, and so that's one of the options. So as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Jockers sells this ultimate probiotic on his website, but to get something local and something that's easy to continue to take, you can go to one of the stores I mentioned earlier. So the question many patients would ask me is, what probiotics should I take? Which one's best for me? And as I said, some of this is quite new to me. I do take a probiotic, but having it in this different fashion, this much information, this is new to me. But following their recommendations, they say soil-based probiotics are best tolerated, and so it would decrease your symptoms. And then what you want to do is try it for 7 days. So in the first 3 days, you might have some adjustment periods. So that's why you want to start with low, like half a dose, and work your way up. And then by day 7, and I may even go to day 10, but look for signs of improvement. And if you see that, then you know that that's one that you're tolerating well and that could help your overall microbiome. And after that 10-day period, if it's working well, you could continue with it for a month, right? Or you could choose to try a different one. And what they talk about is, if you notice that all 4 work well for you, then it's a good idea to rotate them every 1 to 3 months. If you find only 1 or 2 work well for you, then what I would do is either just take the one or rotate between the two, every couple months. And that way you're continually feeding the right source of bacteria for your digestive system. Now, it can't all just be about supplementing with the probiotics. We need to look at our overall diet and what causes our digestive system to send us these messages, these symptoms, right? And so to put a gut healing diet together, what you'll experience is you'll have less inflammation. It'll stabilize your blood sugar, decrease the toxins in your body, give you the nutrients to stay healthy, to grow strong, and helps to maintain a balanced pH for your blood. So what you want to do, and again, this news is not it's not new to you. It's something that Dr. Justine's talked about repetitively over the 300 talks that she's done for the channel and for the patients and the people of Brampton and our community around. You want to eliminate the refined sugars. You want to eliminate the grains that are quickly converted to sugar. You want to improve the acidity in your gut, and you want to avoid feeding the harmful bacteria. So things that feed the harmful bacteria would be conventionally raised meat and dairy, farmed fish, non-organic fruits and vegetables, highly processed oils, but also things like hamburgers, potato chips, like those kinds of things are going to take us down the wrong road. And so that really disrupts our overall flora. It produces inflammation in our body. It makes us feel not healthy. It decreases our ability to move. So when we don't feel healthy, we don't want to go for a walk. We don't want to do the things that are good for our overall health and well-being. And it can destroy the good bacteria in our system. So we want to focus on whole, unprocessed foods. If we can get grass-fed, pasture-raised meats, wild-caught fish, colorful fruits and vegetables that our body that have a lot of fiber, right? So things like beets, asparagus, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. I know some people may feel like I'm swearing with those words, but those words, I swear to you, are going to help you out. The prebiotic fibers in berries and sweet potatoes and carrots, things that you can add to different salads or different cereals would be flax seeds, chia, hemp, pumpkin seeds. For breakfast, what I'll do sometimes is just put a third of a cup of oats, a third of a cup of pumpkin seeds, and a tablespoon or so of chia with some yogurt. And that'll be my breakfast to help my digestive system. And what that does is it gives our body a chance to maintain that microbiome. Kiwi is another great food, and it'll help adding different fats will give you those small chain fatty acids that are great for our gut barrier integrity, but also help our overall mood. We want to limit our exposure to antibiotics, to aspirin and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like Tylenol, Advil, naproxen, Motrin. Those things are going to affect our gut biome. When we take an antibiotic, a different example, because I talked about the lawn and weeds, a different example might be if you have a city full of people and you have some criminals and you decide, well, we got to get rid of the criminals in the city, so we're just going to drop a bomb on the city, right? And that takes everything out. Well, what happens with the antibiotics, it doesn't distinguish between bad bacteria and good bacteria, right? It's not like you have your penicillin and it says, okay, I'm going to focus on just killing this one bad bacteria. It takes out a certain type of bacteria, and those can be good and bad. And so then we have to replace the good bacteria that have died with supplements, right? We have to have some different probiotics in our repertoire to help build that back up. When we look at just common practices around supporting good elimination, we want to make sure we're having a bowel movement between 1 and 4 times a day. What we want is to have a rhythm. So typically it'll be early in the morning once you wake up, or shortly after waking up, or just shortly after eating a meal, right? And so, yeah, kind of 2 to 3 a day would be really ideal, but 1 to 4, depending on how it is for you. But you want to make sure that the waste that builds up in our body doesn't sit there, because if it sits there, it builds up more inflammation, and it can create or promote bad bacterial overgrowth. Different things that you can look at. Again, these are new to me. So one is called bowel movement, and the other is called oxy powder. I'm not sure if they're only available in the US or if they're just available through Dr. Jockers. But things that have, again, if you went into one of the to Healthy Planet or into Hoopers, you could talk to them about some supplements that have ginger and clove. These things will support our body and help to detoxify and get the system moving. Senna is another one, but just to help the body move. The other thing you can do is talk to a naturopath about testing. So you could do a GI map stool analysis and test your stool to see what is in the stool in terms of bacteria. Do you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria? Do you have yeast? Do you have different spores or worms or parasites? And that's important test to do if your digestion is off or if your overall health and well-being is off. A good chiropractor that I've learned from in the past, he talked about making sure that we get our digestive system moving, and he's so fixated and focused on this. Is every patient that starts care with him in his office, he makes sure that their bowel movements are 2 to 3 a day before he starts adjusting them. So he gets them on different supplements, a regimen that he gets them on, because he knows that if their body's backed up, then it's going to be very difficult for him to get results to help them heal and become healthy. So getting tested to know what's in your stool is going to help you understand the best way for you to approach your overall health and well-being. And then the other thing you can look at is a health panel, and it'll look for parasites, different yeasts or fungi, whether you have good and bad bacteria, and you would do that through a naturopath as well. And then organic acid test will help you understand where your pH is at, and understand it helps to look at enzyme function. So again, how your body can break down and use the different nutrients, as well as hormone, so the neuroendocrine activity and hormone function. So some final thoughts. Our gut flora or microbiome, it's made up of trillions of microorganisms. It supports our digestion, our immune system, our brain function, our overall health and well-being. Without it, we wouldn't exist on this planet. We need to have that great relationship. And I really want, if you made it this far into the talk or the presentation, I want you to consider, many people, especially since COVID, are afraid to touch things that might have bacteria on them, right? But the bacteria that are on different things, a lot of those bacteria are still good bacteria, and we need to touch different things. We need to be exposed. We need to have a diversity of microorganisms in our system. So if every time I touch a door handle and I reach for the cleaner for my hands, I'm not going to have that diversity. And so you want to know that the world around us is there to support us. The bacteria are there primarily. Those bacteria are there to support us. Obviously, if I'm going to eat, I want to wash my hands. But if I'm just out touching a door handle and then I put my hand in my pockets and then I touch something on a shelf, and I don't want to be worried about those things. Those bacteria that are there, they're going to help our body function better. Probiotics are a great solution to help restore the balance of bacteria in the microbiome in our body, and it helps our overall gut health and well-being. Now, how does chiropractic relate to this, right? And so our nervous system, our brain and our spinal cord make up our central nervous system. They control the function of every single cell, tissue, and organ of our body. And the reason I say of our body, I used to say in our body, and I have to correct that. Because in our body, my adjustments probably won't affect the microbiome bacteria individually, right? But when we correct the function of the spine and the nervous system, it turns our receptors on to have better ability to receive information from the messages that the microbiome is trying to send to us. And so we want to avoid any interference with our nervous system and help it function at its best so you can express the health potential that you have. Your body heals from inside out, and chiropractic plays an important role to help you heal from inside out. You're welcome to connect with us. Again, there's the QR codes on the screen. So through YouTube, through Facebook, through Instagram. We love when people give us reviews on Google and Yelp. So as I said, we love when you give us those reviews. We love when there are even positive reviews, but let us know what you think. Let us know how we can be better. We're always looking to serve you, and we want to be our best so that you can be your best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Blake, for such an informative talk. I'm wishing everyone a happy day, okay?
Thanks, Angela. That was awesome.